Hello. If you look at the screen, you can be sure that I like cars. Um, I grew up, I started out 80 years ago, but in 65 or so I started working. And one of the things I used to be is fascinated with cars. I loved cars. In fact, I bought a car, an old 52 Monarch, when I was just a teenager, and I had no driver's license, but I turned it around inside my dad's backyard and struggled to learn, and eventually I did learn. But eventually I became a mechanic. I worked heavy trucks and auto mechanic dealerships, and I worked mostly GM. But when you look at all these cars, you can see a flaw that's in all of them. And the flaw, I guess I have to point it out to you because not very many people notice this, but maybe you'll notice there's two wheels, and on the other side are two more wheels. This was my first car, only not a hardtop. This car has a big problem. When it goes down the road, when you're turning a corner, you turn the wheel, and this wheel, the left front wheel, turns. This wheel, the left front wheel, turns. But when you turn a corner with the wheels, they don't turn the same. One will have to turn more than the other because where the circle is turning from is far over to the left if you're turning right. As well, the back two wheels, they don't participate in the turning at all. They don't turn. So you have three lines from the center of what you're turning from, turning the car. Now the problem is that when you're going high speeds, these wheels don't naturally follow the curve. It's not like the front wheel of a bicycle that'll actually lean into the curve and go into the curve. So as I went through life, and like I said, I'm 80 now, I should have been an engineer because as I worked as a mechanic for years and years, I realized that the cars are very poorly built. One of the things we have a big problem with is that the engines are far too big, and all the drivetrains are coupled to the engines, and the engines burn far more gasoline than they need. There's more power to the wheels than we need, so we need to have a better way to apply the power. And that's one problem, but this turning problem is the other problem. What I had visualized is I designed a car, and I wrote a book in 1990 about how to build a better car, and I called the book A Tinker's Dream. It's on Amazon if you want to look. You could even buy a used copy for peanuts. But anyways, I designed this car, and instead of having four wheels, I wanted to have three wheels. So I went about trying to figure out how a frame could work, that you could have a steel frame that would be all around the car so that the passengers would be in a steel box. There would be like a steel square tubing, vertically in four places, horizontally in four places, a box that would protect you, just like having a Jeep with a rollover bar, or any other car that's racing has a rollover bar to prevent the thing from collapsing. So putting a V in the front with the frame and having two vertical pieces at the back, you could have a three-wheeled vehicle. And everybody says, well, no, the three-wheel vehicle won't work. Well, they don't. Lots of people have produced them because all the wheels are fixed vertically. They don't lean into the corner. They also, the back two wheels, only one wheel would steer. It's still got the same problem as the four-wheel cars. So what you really need to have is a new steering and suspension system. What I came up with and what I've been fooling around with is using 3D printing, is to have a V in the front with a vertical piece, so that would be the front of the frame. In behind there would be a cylinder going up. So I've made this cylinder to show that this would be the vertical piece that the car can turn from. And as it has a vertical piece, you could have an arm out, like a drag link, would work just like an ordinary car. So this cylinder would be mounted vertically and it can turn. Now that's nice, except this thing is still vertical. So what I propose is to put a piece in like this that can swivel. It can go up and down. And then we can put a shaft through here, this hole in the bearing, and then on this part, down through the center, but offset toward the front, would be a cylindrical cavity where you could put a spring, a coil spring. You could put a screw on the bottom so that the screw would change the spring to make it harder or softer, so you could adjust the ride of the car. As well, you're going to have a circular piece with a wheel. So I can insert this piece, so now you can see that this thing can swing this way. So as you see, the top part had a little shaft up that would hold it, and of course we have a bar off the side that we can make it work back and forth. Now, if it doesn't fall on the floor, having the top being in a static place that can't move, and the wheel can move up and down, and it can teeter-totter on that bearing, and the spring could be raised or lowered. So as you see, the wheel is down. As you hit a bump, it would go left up and then go back down. With the spring would push it down. And at the top, it's being held by this little leg off the top that comes up. So now, and I can twist it with my fingers to show that the turning. So as we're turning left, it would go this direction. This would be straight, and this would be turning left. So the three vertical pieces would be able to work. Now for power, I would do is put a small engine that could be efficient, and that would run a pump. And then we could use hydraulics and run hydraulics to the line. So hydraulics would drive the wheel, and then of course hydraulics would take the brakes off the wheel. So then as you apply more hydraulics, the wheel would go faster. Then when you clamped off and stopped the hydraulic pressure, then the springs would put the brakes back on. So this whole car would work very well. And then if you had three of these, and they were all linked up with systems to do that, then we could have a three-wheel car that would be far superior to any car that's on the road today. That's some of the ideas I came up with. I can't work them any better. You can't get any company to be interested in doing that, because all they want to do is make cars the way they want to make cars. They're never interested in the way you want to have a car.